What if Nezuko was raised by Muzan? Although Nezuko was turned into a demon by Muzan himself, she fought against her instincts to avoid hurting humans and kept her love for her family. During her journey, she was able to stand up to Daki, an upper moon, and in the end, became immune to the sun, something not even the King of Demons was able to achieve. But what if this extraordinary potential were discovered and cultivated by the very source of all demons? Our story begins when Muzan attacks the Kamado family to eliminate sun breathing and the legacy of the Hanafuda earrings. We know that his choice to turn Nezuko is just the Demon King's way of mocking the tragedy. However, in this version, something remarkable happens during the transformation. As Nezuko's body adapts to become an Oni, Muzan realizes that she doesn't immediately lose her human consciousness like the other newly transformed Oni. Instead, she seems to be fighting an internal battle between her human memories and Oni instincts. Instead of letting her complete the transformation on her own, Muzan becomes fascinated by this anomaly. He spent over 1,000 years creating demons, but the only person to resist him so strongly was Tamayo. But in Tamayo's case, Muzan was nowhere near as strong as he is now during the Taisho era, and she was only freed after Yorichi's devastating attack, which weakened the King of Demons even further. Seeing the potential for another demon who could resist him, Muzan's ego gets in the way of a decision he had already planned out. Instead of killing Nezuko on the spot, he puts her under his protection, hoping to mold her into the perfect demon. When Tanjiro returns home, he finds the massacre exactly as it was in the original timeline. However, this time the faint scent of Nezuko moves away from the house, but it seems different, even corrupted. This trail is also intertwined with the wavering presence of Muzan himself. Tanjiro tries to follow the tracks in the forest, but not even his sharp sense of smell can navigate through a snowstorm. Unlike the original story, where Tanjiro had hope because Nezuko still had a pulse, here he witnesses clear evidence that his entire family was lost. The realization that the Kamado family was practically wiped out breaks Tanjiro in a completely different way. Giyu arrives at the scene and finds Tanjiro overwhelmed by grief. The Water Hashira recognizes the signs of Muzan's presence and knows that any human taken to the King of the Demons is lost forever. Instead of sending Tanjiro to Urokodaki in hopes of saving his sister, Giyu gives him the same choice but with a darker motivation: revenge against the demons who stole everything from him. Being as kind as we know him, Tanjiro accepts, seeking not only revenge but also to spare others from the same cruel fate he suffered. Meanwhile, Muzan begins an unprecedented experiment. Instead of simply commanding Nezuko through his blood like other demons, he decides to train her. While the lesser demons we see in the anime are shown without control over their bloodlust, Nezuko is directly instructed by Muzan and develops her abilities much earlier in the story. Including her blood demon art, Muzan also discovers that Nezuko's unique constitution allows her to retain memories and emotions while gaining demonic powers. He realizes that this makes her potentially more dangerous than most of the upper moons. Types like Gyoku and even Enmu are slaves to their demonic instincts, giving Nezuko the potential to surpass their lethality. Under Muzan's tutelage, Nezuko develops advanced combat techniques and strategic thinking, completing missions for the King of Demons himself, devouring humans and conquering their lands, even receiving more blood from the King of Demons. While other demons are given a certain level of independence, Muzan prepares Nezuko to become the ultimate weapon against the demon hunters, making her learn about breathing techniques and their unique characteristics. He demands that she work with Nakimi to help locate the demon hunters' training grounds, along with the weaknesses of each Hashira. But above all, Muzan brainwashes Nezuko, teaching her to see her human past not as something to be valued, but as a weakness to be overcome. Muzan convinces her that the only way to find purpose and meaning is through strength and domination. Keep this in mind because it will be very important from now on. After months of training, Nezuko emerges as an entirely new person. If Muzan is the Demon King, you could consider her a demon princess with an intelligence that rivals his. In the original timeline, Nezuko never really practiced her blood demon art, but she still evolved to the point of being able to harm the upper moons. Now, with consistent training, her abilities develop beyond simply burning blood. She extends the range of her already devastating attacks. Now, before we continue Nezuko's story, we need to explore how Tanjiro is affected by the loss of his sister. On one hand, the burden of protecting her has been lifted from his shoulders, and he is no longer distracted by the goal of restoring Nezuko's humanity. Furthermore, the desire for revenge turns Tanjiro into a completely different demon slayer. Originally, he showed compassion for the demons. Two examples we can mention about Tanjiro's compassion are when he admires Kyogai's writing and even feels pity for Rui's tragic childhood. However, in this timeline, Tanjiro shows no mercy and is only interested in reaching greater heights until he is strong enough to defeat Muzan himself. Tanjiro's intensity also means that he doesn't form the same bonds with Inosuke and Zenitsu, as he sees attachments as things that will only get in the way of his goals. Even so, he still cares about others, and what happens in most of the story arcs is that he makes important contributions to defeating the demons alongside Nezuko. Well, before we see it, I need you to use the powerful subscribers breathing. First form, like the video. To unlock the subscribers breathing and become a true Hashira, you need to subscribe to the channel with the bell turned on. Don't forget to hype up this video so it reaches the true Demon Slayer fans. That way, we'll evolve our guild of cultured otakus. By the way, a huge thank you to the channel members. You guys are awesome. Now look, weaker demons like the Temple Demon, the Swamp Demon, or even Susamaru and Yahaba would still be defeated anyway, since Nezuko wasn't even that powerful at the time. Although she was crucial in Tanjiro's battle against Rui, it was still Giyu who showed up and finally eliminated Lower Moon 5. So once again, this ends in victory for the Demon Slayers. At this point, Tanjiro's motivation has already pushed him to a level beyond what we see in the original timeline. Therefore, the encounter with Enmu will also end the same way, especially considering that Rengoku is on the Infinity Train with them. This means that we only start to feel Nezuko's absence in the Entertainment District arc, since at this point, she was already a pretty powerful demon, and Daki and Gyutaro were threats beyond the abilities of even a single Hashira. Although the Demon Slayers are still able to eliminate the Upper Moon 6, with Tanjiro still awakening his Demon Slayer mark. There will be casualties, with Tengen and Inosuke not making it out alive without Nezuko's Blood Demon art to heal them from Gyutaro's poison. But the question that keeps lingering in our minds, how will Tanjiro and Nezuko meet each other? Well, notice that by this point Tanjiro has discovered sun breathing and is on his way to mastering it. Finding Nezuko is destined to be an act of psychological warfare. Moving on to the Swordsmith Village arc, many changes happen from this point on. Look, when Gyoko found the location of the village, Muzan ordered him to go along with Hantengu, since it would be appropriate to ensure the annihilation of the swordsmiths. But this time, Muzan orders Nezuko to join Gyoko, since he wants to see her abilities. In the village, Nezuko appears before Tanjiro not as an irrational beast, but as the demon princess. She speaks to him with intelligence and even affection, explaining how Muzan saved her from the weakness of humanity and gave her true power. This encounter devastates Tanjiro more than any physical battle could. The sister he fought to avenge was not only alive all along, but was also an ally of Muzan against humanity. Nezuko, out of compassion, tries to convince Tanjiro to join them. He immediately refuses, becoming furious with Muzan for brainwashing his sister. While the attack on the village was happening, Muichiro and Genya were fighting against Gyoko. Mitsuri arrives at the battle between Tanjiro and Nezuko. Driven by his emotions, Tanjiro was being overwhelmed by Nezuko's insane attacks, who was currently one of Muzan's most powerful upper moons, surpassing even Akaza. Mitsuri intervenes and fights alongside Tanjiro, giving him the strength to keep going. The battle goes on until sunrise, forcing Nezuko to flee and leaving the hunters extremely exhausted to go after her. The village is still saved, but that doesn't mean Nezuko came out of the encounter completely unchanged. Do you remember how? She was more powerful due to her ability to retain human emotions and sensitivities. However, that same strength was also a weakness. As the encounter with Tanjiro forced her to question her determination, Nezuko begins to question her purpose. Beloved childhood memories resurface, and she began to wonder what was the point of seeking dominance and demonic strength. But this moment is not enough to make her switch sides. The encounter was devastating for Tanjiro, but it was crucial for him to seek even more strength to be able to fight against Muzan, and his development is only amplified by the motivation to save his sister. However, something crucial happens. As Nezuko continues to participate in Muzan's missions with her intelligence and emotions, Nezuko also gets closer to Tamayo, but as a fellow intelligent Oni interested in taking down Muzan. Tamayo believes in Nezuko since she also seems to be free from Muzan's curse. Thus, Nezuko is able to assess the progress of Tamayo's research and the power of her anti-Muzan drugs. After all, Muzan knows that Tamayo is still fighting against him. Armed with this information, the potency of Tamayo and Shinobu's anti-Muzan drug is also weaker. With Muzan's encounter with Kaguya, the mansion explodes and Muzan is surrounded by the Demon Slayers. And as the Demon Slayers fall into the Infinity Castle, their battles are no longer the same as before. Notice that the core does not have one of the main pieces in the fight against the Upper Moons, which would be Inosuke. And Muzan has one more Upper Moon by his side in the castle, besides Hantengu, who is alive. That would be Nezuko, someone as strong as the cowardly demon thanks to the upbringing she had with Muzan. And instead of helping Giyu in his battle against the house, Tanjiro comes face to face with Nezuko. And he's left with a difficult choice. Try to save his sister or stay true to his mission as a demon slayer. The battle begins with Tanjiro cornered, but even though he's being overpowered, he senses a lack of murderous intent coming from Nezuko. Realizing that his sister isn't completely gone, Tanjiro desperately pleads for her to come back and fight for humanity. Tanjiro's desperate pleas forced Nezuko to relive her own human memories and all the joy they felt as a family. That still wasn't strong enough to convince her to fight against Muzan, even with that emotional overload. Tanjiro takes advantage of Nezuko's moment of doubt to surpass her, awakening the transparent world in an arc. He proves himself superior to Nezuko, forcing her to believe that the bonds Tanjiro created during his journey only made him stronger, whereas Muzan had only made her believe those bonds made her weaker. At this moment, reality hits Nezuko so hard that it creates a crack in the mental conditioning that Muzan spent years building. Nezuko returns to her human nature stronger than ever, resisting Muzan's control and heading to Tanjiro's side for the fights against Zoro. Upper Moons, they first encounter Akaza and Gyu. Tanjiro with the transparent world finishes off the demon in a matter of seconds alongside Nezuko. The three move together toward Muzan, but at this moment, Nakimi separates them, forcing Nezuko to face Duma, Upper Moon 2, and Nezuko fights alongside Kanao to exterminate Upper Moon 2, something both of them manage to do even faster than when fighting with Nosuke. The other battles happen in the same way, up until the collapse of the castle with Nakimi's defeat. As soon as everyone meets the King of Demons, Muzan is left in disbelief at Nezuko, who joined forces with those she once despised the most. The battle is insane, with Nezuko fighting with everything she has against Muzan alongside the hunters, who had no choice but to trust Tanjiro's sister. Given Muzan's immense power, especially since he wasn't affected by Tamayo's poison, countless casualties occur, and when the sun was about to rise, Nezuko holds Muzan with her blood demon art, burning the entire body of the Oni, preventing his cellular division. She also holds the Demon King as her final act of redemption, making up for all the humans she killed and all the pain she caused Tanjiro. With Muzan's end and without a cure for Nezuko, she also passes away, just like all the demons under Muzan's control. The Demon Slayers achieved their long-awaited victory, and Nezuko was able to atone for her sins. Tanjiro and the others go on with their lives, remembering Nezuko, a demon who fought until the end to redeem herself and save humanity. So, Otaku, did you enjoy this story? I hope so. I picked out this video here for you to watch, and I guarantee you'll enjoy it. I'll see you there.